Today is a Friday, and as usual for Muslim, we have our Friday prayer or jumu'ah prayer, and we do this every Friday in congregation at the masjid. There are two main components of this prayer. One is the sermon or the khutbah, and then that follows by the salat or the prayer itself. For any Muslim guy out there, I think you know what normally happen during the khutbah. Most of the people are not paying attention, some are sleeping, some are doing some other things, right, playing with the phone, etc., right? So this is quite common to see. This would mean that the purpose and the objective of the khutbah itself is not being achieved. How can it be achieved when people are not paying attention, right? Khutbah is not a period where we just relax, rest, doze off just before the prayer. We have to get actually something as a reminder for ourselves from the khutbah. So why is this happening? Why are we not paying full attention to the khutbah? Now, there are various aspects or various factors that we can pinpoint as the reason. Some from the congregation themselves, from the Muslim that come to the mosque without a clear understanding and a clear purpose. But in this video, I would like to pinpoint towards the khutbah itself, which should be much easier to rectify, I think. A disclaimer though, what I will be describing will most probably valid and applied and applicable for most typical masjid or mosque here locally in Malaysia. So if you are from outside of Malaysia, it might or might not be applicable to your masjid. I'm not sure, because the way it is being implemented, the way how it goes might be different or might be the same. So you'll be the judge. Another disclaimer though, I will be focusing much on the khutbah itself, the khutbah which is delivered by the khatib itself. Now, I have to admit, I'm not an expert in terms of giving khutbah. I'm not an expert khatib. I'm not an expert in any way or form in terms of khutbah. I only have throughout my life giving Friday khutbah or Jumu'ah khutbah only once in my life, right? So I'm not in any way an expert in this. However, I think this point is valid because from the perspective of those who listen to khutbah, you can relate to this point, I think. And here goes. One big factor that plays an important role in this is how the text for the khutbah is being written. I think most of the text is being written as if it is to be put in a book for people to read the text, not text to be prepared for someone to give speech or speak for people to listen to. And that is an important factor. I mean, it plays a role in terms of when I listen to it, it doesn't come across as human interaction or human conversation or even a human speech. It comes across as something so alien to me that it's not working. You know, I even want to pay attention. I fail to pay attention because it's so hard to even follow what the conversation is all about. Just an example. In written text, it is normal when you list certain things, you put in terms of a comma, right? For example, there are various types of vehicle on the road: motorcar, motorcycle, bus, trucks, etc., right? You have comma, comma, and comma, and comma. But in terms of human interaction or human conversation or speaking from one human to another human, we do not use that kind of sentence structure, right? We do not say there are various types of vehicle on the road: cars, comma, motorcycle, comma, bus, comma, trucks. We do not talk like that. We talk maybe in this form. There are various types of there are various types of vehicle on the road. There's motorcycle, there's cars, there's also bus, etc., right? So when a text that is purpose for a written form for people to read, when you speak it out loud for people to listen, it doesn't come across naturally. It is not natural speech, right? So it does have an impact in terms of me listening to 1 hour or half an hour of that form of text. It's hard not to sleep, really. Now, in the actual khutbah that I listened to today, the beginning of the khutbah started something like this. In today's khutbah, the khatib will be talking about the topic of so and so and so. Now, I listen to it and I think to myself, wait, are you talking in terms of third person right now? Just now, are you referring to yourself as a third person? The khatib will talk about, aren't you the khatib? Now, I do understand if the text is being prepared by someone for the khatib to talk about it, and then he's specifically mentioned the khatib will talk about something. But when the khatib is actually talking, that is not a normal speech. Like, why are you talking in the form of third person just now, right? It doesn't make sense to me. So that's just an example of how the text written is somewhat not considering the fact that a human being is actually supposedly to listen to it and take points, takes learning point from it, right? It's just like you write it so that the khatib reads and the jama'ah and the congregation listen to as if it's just a book and he is reading a bedtime story or something. I'm not sure. Well, if that is the case, then no wonder everyone is sleeping during the khutbah, right? And now to the second point. Many khatib actually read the khutbah text, meaning he is not delivering the khutbah, he is actually reading the text prepared by someone for him for the khutbah. So he is actually reading and not delivering khutbah. That is also making people struggle to listen to attentively, because listening to someone reading something can make you sleepy, really, right? If someone actually reading out loud the newspaper or something or some article, it's not the same as listening to him talking to you, addressing you, right? It's totally different. And unfortunately, many khutbah today has become something that is being read to you, not being delivered to you. Just to make sure that you do not misunderstand me, I'm not put the blame on the khatib just now. I'm just saying that that kind of delivery is a problematic one. However, when the khatib is being asked to read the text of the khutbah prepared by some agency, for example, that tend to be happening. That tend to be the way the khatib actually goes about the khutbah. He read, and if the instruction is different, or if the text is given in a different format, for example, it's just point form, and he understand that he have to deliver this point. Okay, you have to remind the jama'ah of this, you have to remind the Muslim of this, etc. Then it makes sense for the khatib to prepare in delivering the points and not just reading the text about certain points. It's different, right? It's different. So I think that can be changed, and that can be updated, and that can be improved, and I hope it will be. I hope it does, and hopefully someone listen to this is in the authority or something that can change this reality, so that when we listen to the khutbah, because the first barrier is to be able to listen to it attentively and to focus on about what is being spoken to us, right? If those 2 points is not being catered, meaning that it is written in a form of you can understand if you read it, but when it is delivered in terms of speech, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't translate into a human conversation. Number 2, the khatib actually is empowered to deliver the points, to emphasize on the points, not just to read the text, right? And another point that from the khutbah today also, when the point is given, for example, so, meaning after elaborated on some things, so the conclusion is basically, so the Muslim have to blah blah blah, right? And then it still feel like, okay, that point is valid, the Muslim have to do something, but isn't the Muslim us? We are listening. Shouldn't you say we all, or you, us, right? We have to do something. Right now when I listen to it, it's just, okay, Muslim somewhere, some Muslim have to do something. It doesn't bother me, meaning that's among the things that happen when it comes in the form of text, like, and it should be read as if it is a book or an article, right? So it doesn't help, really it doesn't help. So I hope these 2 points can be improved, and hopefully that will be a lot of help. for us to focus, and because that's the first barrier. If we can break this one down, the next one is to actually take and implement what is the reminder to us, right? But if the first barrier is not being tackled, we don't even understand and cannot even memorize or remember what is the khatib talk about, then what's the point? But anyway, that is just my personal opinion, my personal perspective. My name is Saifuddin Rehan. I am a Muslim, and this is a Muslim's perspective. Okay, this is just an additional note, a side note really. Something in the khutbah that still triggers an interesting reaction from myself is when I heard of those little plugs in the khutbah. In particular, for example, in the dua, in the prayer at the end of the khutbah, right? For example, just now for today, this is basically what I listened to in the dua, in the prayer, right? They begin with, for example, oh Allah, give us hidayah, give us a guidance to the true path, etc. And that we go Ameen. Ya Allah, oh Allah, help us to be steadfast in performing the 5 daily prayers, and Ameen. And then, oh Allah, help us to be steadfast in giving our charity to this specific organization. And I go, wait, what? Meaning, those little plugs of organization, etc., sometimes still triggers some reaction from myself, that it still feels weird that you insert some organization to promote that organization in the middle of the dua, in the middle of the prayer. I still can't.